throat before I come on. 1,282 days. But we are going to burn the midnight oil. And so I'm going to see if I'm on, see if everything's working. I see it's live. See if it comes up. I see it's on. There I am. Okay. Make sure that the sound is on. Okay. Turn it down. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. We are getting a lot of institutional support right now. Sherry Shapley from the DA's office has been forwarding the open records request to us, and we are very appreciative of that because what they show is just, a, you know, we're going through it, and we can at this point confidently tell everybody in El Paso that DA Bill Hicks, we can call him Dirty DA Bill Hicks. Okay? He has so much dirty laundry. Why he was chosen, it the only explanation is a favor, a political favor, because when you look in his background, when you look at his problems, and when he even had a very slow response, illegally slow response, in filling out his statement of officer, which is called the anti-bribery statement, then red flags go up, right? Red flags go up. Why would they do this? They spent so much time, Bob Moore and Justin Underwood and Omar Carmona, exactly. I'm trying to remember all of these articles that are out there, statements that are out there, that they wanted to get rid of a duly elected 230,000 votes, I think, maybe more, for Yvonne Rosales. And, uh, and uh, you know, they wanted to get rid of her, and they tarnished her, they smeared her. And you know how I feel about these unjust smear campaigns. Here she is, a duly elected district attorney. Let's not mention that she's the first female. Let's not mention that she's the first Hispanic female. Let's not mention that. Let's just say she's a duly elected district attorney, and they smeared her, they misrepresented her, and because why? How do we know that? Because when they got rid of her, they brought back John Briggs, who she had fired, and I believe some other people she let go. Okay, so she's saving taxpayers' money. Um, she's looking into Richard's case because these open records reveal to us that she absolutely was looking into Richard's case. And she also was looking to get a court date for the Walmart case, the 2019 mass shooting case. She was looking to get a date in court. And she fired because of another case. There's a murderer that was let go because of just a botched case by John Briggs, who was at that time in charge of the murder cases. And I think he still is in charge of murder cases. And that is a real big problem for the people of El Paso. Because if you're wondering why the 2019 August 3rd, which is Dallas Hart's birthday, mass shooting is still not still doesn't have a court date, right? They're just putting on a show. You have Joe Spencer, who's having a great time milking the public, right? I mean, this is like such a great gravy train for him to represent uh, Patrick Crucius, who has been sentenced to 90 consecutive life sentences, like 8,000 years, in the maximum prison in Florence, Colorado, with the hardest type criminals. Um, and the judge confirmed that, we know that Patrick Crucius has autism. And the judge confirmed that he needs counseling and therapy treatment for severe mental condition for a severe mental condition. And and if he was crazy or whatever, then they would have to try to plead him that way. But they can't plead him that way, because they can't plead someone with a severe mental condition like autism as, like I'm crazy or something like that. That's what I've researched, been told that's a different kind of. I'm no lawyer, so correct that if I'm wrong, but that's what I'm led to believe. So he is uh, bound, prison bound to 8,000 years in prison. And, so for Joe Spencer and Felix Valenzuela, who is connected to Richard's case through this 3705 Bliss Avenue, 3905 Bliss Avenue, with Tanya Katz and Danae Katz, and with the, and connected to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which it seems like in Richard's case, just it's just that's just what surrounds Richard's case, is members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So, and Felix Valenzuela is connected to all that, and he is working with Joe Spencer to defend Patrick Crucius. And Patrick Crucius is already found guilty, but and he's like, oh, we have to wait another 3 years before we can have a trial date. Yeah, I mean, why not ask the governor for another $9 million, right? And let's just have this gravy train come in. So I think, uh, of course, we have open records for, and I was even sent a little screenshot. I need to put that up because I think that is really amazing screenshot. But we have an open records for the monies for the Patrick Crucius case, which is the August 3rd, 2019 Walmart mass shooting case, and then Richard's case. We would like to know how much they have spent on it, because absolutely, through the open records, we see that Yvonne Rosales was looking into Richard's case. And so, we'd like more details on that. Um, you know, and we should get them as next of kin. We should get all the details of Richard's case. Absolutely. So it has been a battle to get the open records. We have a lot of them now. We're still waiting, of course, on the Child Protective Service complaints that Richard made, and many more, and the monies that have been spent. But when they brought in Bill Hicks, uh, on the guise of, hey, Yvonne Rosales is not running a good office. There's all kinds of nonsense going on, blah, blah, blah. You would think that they would appoint, because, they thwarted an election, right? This was election interference. So, uh, if they're bringing in somebody that they're going to appoint instead of elect, you would think that they would pick out of all these attorneys that we have somebody that is amazing, somebody that will get through these murder cases, right? Save the taxpayers money. They've suffered enough. El Paso has suffered enough, having to this perpetration, this murderous perpetration done upon their community, for what? Because we know, and I posted it today, I was very bold to post it. When I'm bold like that, it's because I'm 100% sure it has been really, the evidence is overwhelming that Patrick Crucius was not a lone shooter. There are witnesses that there were more shooters. We have Glendon Oakley Jr., rest in peace, Glendon, that absolutely his testimony of what happened in the mall is vital. And you have mall cops with M4s, and you have shots going on in the mall. And within, a couple hours of that, they're saying, oh no, this is a lone shooter. That the narrative was all along meant to be a lone shooter. And Patrick Crucius, who, forms his guns. He has his gun. He's autistic, right? So he forms his guns. He's early 20s, early 20s. And he forms his guns. He has so much hate in him. Who's teaching him this hate? Who is teaching this hate? Especially to a young man that has autism. Who's teaching it? Who is behind this? You see, you can't just say, oh, this is just this lone shooter that has all these weapons, right? Supposedly, and he forms them into the word of Trump, and he's writing this manifesto and they want us to believe that this is a political, murderous act, right? That's what they want us to believe. Well, who wants us to believe it? Who? Because absolutely they made it political. I'm not the one that showed up these pictures that supposedly Patrick Crucius took these guns and turned them into the word Trump. I'm not the one that showed that. That was the media. I'm not the one that over and over and over again did not do their homework, uses unreliable sources over and over again to give the El Pasoans false information, a false narrative. A narrative is a storybook. The little red hen, right? The little red hen. You see a little red hen. You see she finds grain. You see she asks for help. She's always denied help. She has to do the work herself. Because they're too preoccupied with whatever they're doing in these agencies to help. And so you got to do the work yourself. The little red hen has to do the work herself. And at the end of the day, God blesses that work and she can have bread, she has something that they all want. She has the truth of her work and they want it. And she says, no, 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 no. This bread of truth, I'm going to eat. Because where were you when I needed help to get the truth out? Where was the FBI when we needed help to get the truth out? Where was the CID when we needed help to find the perpetrators? Where was the MPs? Where were the generals? Where was the DA? And see, all this work that's coming out, the planting, the watering, the hoeing of all the smears and the harassment and the threats and the false narratives and everything, hoeing it all out, all the weeds, letting the sun shine on it, right? Letting it grow. And then gleaning from it, milling it, turning it into a fine dough, adding that yeast, letting it rise, baking it. Now we have the truth. And the truth is that Patrick Crusius walked up to some Texas Rangers and a Hispanic motorcycle cop and said, "Oh yeah, I'm the shooter," at 11:11. At 11:11. And where were all the police that he just walked out and he has clean shoes and he has clean clothes on after a unreliable source, Ernest Christopher Grant, totally unreliable source, just like Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia, just like Leilani Hart. These are unreliable sources. They're criminals. Christopher Grant must be allowed to commit crimes, okay? Because he still has an outstanding arrest warrant. Why isn't he arrested? He must be allowed to commit crimes. And the only way through all of this, the only way is because we smelled something very stinky for a long time in this whole case. And I said, do these people work for the FBI? Are they FBI informants? Is Nadal Baim an FBI informant? No, he presented himself as an FBI agent. Right? The man that walked into the Dollar General to say that he was FBI and that the FBI was looking for Richard in Juarez and found him, and he is dead. He's dead. They found his remains in Juarez, making this an international case and a binational crime scene. So, I know that this whole thing with Chris, is he? I don't know. I don't know if he is an FBI informant. I don't know. All I know is when I looked up FBI informants, and you can look it up on Google, just like I did. Most of them are criminals that are given the gift of creating more crime with immunity if they just share the information that they get with the FBI. Now, that's a rotten program. That's a rotten program because we know with January 6th, there were a lot of FBI informants there. Absolutely. That explains a lot to me because I was working the crowd January 6th because I was passing out flyers for Richard and prayer candles, telling them about Richard, asking them to pray for Richard, asking them to spread the word that there's a missing soldier. So I looked a lot of people in the eyes. And, it explains I never really knew about FBI informants. And I don't know if he is. We have confirmation of FBI informants in Team Farm Richard Halliday's case. I don't know if he's one. All I know is he has an outstanding arrest warrant. He has, 40? I should just say, instead of saying 40, I should say dozens. Dozens of on his criminal file. Okay? Ernest Christopher Grant is a professional criminal. That's how I would describe it, in my opinion. When you're driving an Audi, that's like $58,000, or when you have a Hummer and you have outstanding criminal warrant out for your arrest, and you go up to Austin, Texas, and you enter the Capitol to meet, I think it's the Capitol, to meet with Governor Abbott to talk about gun control. And the media treats you as, you're their little darling. Oh, there's my media, sweetie. There's my media, darling. I'm going to cover him, and he can, he's well-spoken. It doesn't matter that he seems to be a professional criminal, and he gets to meet with the governor. We have a missing, murdered U.S. Army soldier son that was distinguished honor graduate right after Vanessa Guillen, is the Vanessa Guillen first absent soldier, and we don't get even a response. And yet, if you are, if you have a warrant out for your arrest, and you're an unreliable source, because the El Paso Police Department even so much as admits that Chris was lying about him, throwing the soda bottles at the shooter. Okay, if he's lying about throwing the soda bottles at the shooter, then he's lying about what happened in the Walmart. And what Ernest Christopher Grant said, his testimony about what was happening in that Walmart, is a lie. He needs to be arrested, because what he was saying was so horrible, was so horrendous, was so divisive, was so racist. He was saying the most racist things about what happened in that Walmart. And if he is an unreliable source, which he is, and if he was lying about throwing the soda bottles, which the El Paso Police Department says he is, then what he said about the racist remarks is also a lie. And that needs to be in the newspapers because that was so damaging. So damaging. And then it makes you wonder what else was fabricated? Because he gets shot, right? And he's saying it's like, okay, I get shot twice, not once, but 2 times in my ribs, right? Which is bad, really bad. And he says, and it feels like a hand grenade. You pull a pin and it goes off in my spine. A hand grenade goes off in my spine. Is he military? I think he's military. Prior military? Is he prior military? I don't know. I know he's a criminal. I know he has a criminal record. I know that he seems to have enough money. And he's not getting arrested. And he's saying the most horrible things that happened in that Walmart. And he goes into the hospital and gets visited by Chris Cuomo of CNN, who does a photo op with him. And somehow he's shot and he's walking around and he makes his way from the front door area of the Walmart to the auto department, auto parts, auto department, and meets Donna Sifford, let me make sure I get this right, who she is. Tell you, I know she's CBP, and she seems to be, not just any CBP, but like a director CBP. Don't hold me to that one, but she has prior canine experience. He meets her in there and she doesn't have her sidearm. Now, the last couple of days I've been talking to people about CBP off duty with no sidearm. That just doesn't happen. Oh, I was just going to Walmart. No, that doesn't happen. That's what I've been told. And if you are a trained CBP, if you are a veteran, which she is, she's a veteran, right? And she's a trained CBP and she's made it up the ranks and she just forgets? No, I don't understand what's going on with that. And why does this all matter that we're looking into this and exposing this? Because this is directly connected to Richard's case. Everything in the Walmart mass shooting that happened on August 3rd, 2019 is related to Richard's case. And if we solve, because if we wait on Joe Spencer, he has no interest in solving this case for El Pasoans. His duty is the defense attorney for Patrick Crucius with Felix Valenzuela, connected to 3705 Bliss Avenue, 3905 Bliss Avenue, which is connected to the August 3rd, 2019 mass shooting. They don't have any interest in solving this. And now we're given a dirty DA that has even problems signing the anti-bribery statement for taking that huge position. He has to be reminded to sign it to turn it in. And then there is questions. Reyes Mata in that amazing article. Uh, he gets open records and he's saying, wait a minute, the phone call is on the 25th of January. The next day, he says he turned it in. That's the 26th of January, not the 11th of January, which is a timestamp on the document, on the statement. So, was that timestamp tampered with? Well, I'm going to tell you, with all of this stealing of people's identity, with all of the tampering of files in Richard's case, with all of the manipulation that's happening today, with the Department of Justice sitting on their hands, not even just sitting on their hands, but engaging in political warfare, weaponizing their position like they have been. We don't have justice in this country. And a land without justice is just a band of robbers, is just a criminal syndicate, just a criminal enterprise. That's what's happening. And I, for one, I want justice for my son. I want justice. And from the very, very beginning, we were saying, let's just find him first. And then we realized that they had conducted and launched a smear campaign on him that was unjust, that was false, and that they had retaliated against him falsely and unjustly. And then they started doing it to us. And it's still ongoing. The unjust retaliation for asking the simple question, what happened to my son? And now we know why there was so many roadblocks from the FBI, because FBI the El Paso FBI supervisory agent Nieto, Jesus Eddie Nieto Jr., who has been there for over 20 years in that position. Before then, he has a connection with the El Paso Police Department. He was living on Fort Bliss. He was prior military. He is from that area. What in the world? What in the world? How can we get justice when you have an FBI that has such a long tenure that of course he's going to develop conflicts of interest? He's a human being. And I'm not making excuses for him. I'm saying, was that intentional to have these conflicts of interest? Because it sure seems like our leadership wants the supervisory FBI to have conflicts of interest. And those conflicts of interest reached to Nadal Baim, reached to Bradford Bugado, the lieutenant colonel that is the son-in-law of Nadal Baim, that is working in the G3 of the 32nd ADCOM, Richard's command, when Richard is missing. And the FBI supervisory Nieto Jr., he has conflicts of interest that reaches into the CID with dirty agent Marlon Soto, absolutely dirty agent who lost his badge. You can't even call him an agent anymore. Tavita Nusa, who was leaking Richard's files to Leilani Hart, who's he's having an extramarital affair with, who is the mother of Richard's platoon leader. And there's more. And there's more. Because Nieto has a conflict of interest with Angela Kachurga of El Paso Matters. And Angela Kachurga's Kathleen Gannon is her supervisor. Kathleen Gannon runs a publication out of UTEP called Borderzine. She's Angela Kacherga's um, supervisor. But Angela Kacherga, who it happens to be the wife of Bob Moore of El Paso Matters. It's a very quaint little group here that are up to no good. So with a dirty DA, a dirty CID there in Fort Bliss, and a conflict of interest compromised FBI supervisory agent, no wonder they can put up these kinds of roadblocks, and it really is concerning when you find out that this media sweetheart, this media, star, is really seemingly a professional criminal and has a arrest warrant out that he hasn't been arrested. And and he's like, my angel, Donna Sifford, and Donna Sifford being law enforcement, who is absent-minded, leaves her firearm, doesn't think she needs it at a Walmart, busiest time, helps him out, which is all good, but then you need to arrest him. Stop his bleeding and then arrest him. And the media then uses him. The El Paso police don't come out and say, wait a minute, he is an unreliable source. Do not believe anything he says. He needs to be arrested. But no, the media then continues to spew the hateful rhetoric, the absolutely horrendous rhetoric from Chris Grant's mouth when he is not trustworthy, and says he threw soda bottles at clearly the CCTV footage did not show that he threw the soda bottles at the shooter. And who is the shooter really? And who else is he connected to? And, this whole, really, when you look into this and you put the pieces together and you draw out a picture, I like to draw and everything. So, you draw out a picture, a storyboard, draw a storyboard of what's going on. This looks like it was orchestrated. Is this like a Disney production? And I'm not saying it's a Disney production. I'm like, is it like it? Is it a production? Did they have some kind of role that they were playing? And murdering El Pasoans to get through their political agenda? Because this looks like a political agenda. And of course, when I say political agenda, I mean for financial gain. Because if you control the politics, you control regulations and, mandates and all of this stuff. And you can make loads of money that way. Bond issues. What else? I mean, there's so many ways to make money in politics by using and abusing the people, and then disrespecting the people because they have other jobs in this world, other talents in this world, and trust that their law enforcement will be their oversight. Trust that the Department of Justice will be their oversight. Trust that their representatives will be their oversight while they're baking bread, um, the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, doing the other jobs, raising children, teaching children, all of these things. But this criminal syndicate that is taking advantage of our communities forgot everything good and right and nice in life. They forgot everything good, everything praiseworthy. And they're just bringing in a criminal syndicate. And that criminal syndicate got onto Fort Bliss. And Richard blew the whistle. The very people that are involved in this horrendous crime, shooting people, and the crime of lying, the crime of misrepresenting, the crime of the dividing of the community, to try to make this a race thing, to try to make this a political, and to fear the whole country. Not only do you have to fear that you have those that will shoot people dead, but that they will twist and turn the narrative that you believe that you're hated for who you are, where you were born, and the color of your skin, right? Just to put people at odds. That's such a crime. Because we're Americans. Because we're Americans. And even if you're from Juarez, you're still American. Right? That's I'm not just talking about the United States. The United States, you have Canada, you have Mexico. We're Americans. And we need to, instead of having people divide us, we need to come together. And we really do try to. I know when I was born at White Sands in New Mexico and went over all the time to Juarez. All the time. Oh my gosh. We had such a great time. And I think that anybody from Chihuahua, Mexico that came over into Texas had a good time too. And at that time, you had a lot of Germans in that area. That's why Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia married a German. Because we were having good times. Going back and forth. And there wasn't this hate. I don't remember it. I don't remember it at all. And so Alexander Gerhard Hofmann wrote, he died that day on August 3rd, 2019. And his ex-wife, who's a criminal, leads you to question because she's an unreliable source. So anything she says has to be scrutinized. What's going on is, We know they're divorced. What's going on? Is there money to be made in this Walmart case? If you're, a victim, part of a victim, I mean, so what are we doing? We're going to live in a matrix because maybe we can profit off of something so horrible, so horrendous. No, I, I want, um, I want everyone to know that I'm not going to play that game, that Vanity Fair game. And I just want to know where my son is, what they did to him. I want to know who did that to him. And, I want our military, I want our law enforcement, I want our Justice Department to do their duty. This is not that difficult of a case. If I can sit here, across the country and do some simple research and find out that this media sweetheart, I mean, all over the place, all over the media, they are letting Chris spew that horrendous, hateful narrative. And he's an unreliable source. And El Paso Matters allowed Leilani Hart to spew her nonsense. And El Paso Matters allowed Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia to spew her nonsense. And, it is so hurtful to not just the target, because we were targeted. Richard's case was targeted. So it's not hurtful just to the target, but to the system itself, which means to the land and the people. The land and the people. And, there's a reason why we have oaths of office. There's a reason why we take an oath to defend the Constitution. Because a land without justice is just one big criminal cabal. And it gets very mean, and it's not a nice life to live in. So I'm not going to play a part in this criminal cabal, this quiet, something that I learned. We come into this life not having anything, and we leave not having anything. We can't take anything with us. We have to have wills and will this to that person and this to that person, and because we can't take it with us. And I remember being in that one bedroom apartment, 4 children, and we made it work. You've got to live right, and you can make it work, and happiness finds you. The joy finds you. The joy of, in Christianity we say the joy of our salvation. The joy of our salvation, which means, attempting as hard as we can to live righteously. And righteous is a synonym for justice. And so without a justice in your land, it's just very ugly, and you spiral down where there's wailing, crying, gnashing of teeth. It's very dark. And you see it. You see it because I honestly believe that some kind of criminal syndicate, criminal group, orchestrated the August 3rd, 2019 mass shooting. And was Patrick Crucius part of it? Yes. But he wasn't a lone shooter. No. And when Richard was calling out I think, some of these criminals and making complaints, they made an example out of him. That's what I believe. And, it's a belief from irregularities. It's a belief that comes from circumstantial evidence. And it's a belief that comes from hard evidence, like 3905 Bliss Avenue, Tanya Katzen, Felix Valenzuela, and more, and more, and more. And nothing makes sense when you do 15 minutes of reading into, especially when you know that Chris, he was arrested by the Secret Service there at the White House, and then he was let go. Why? That's why I think, okay, did someone give him a deal of immunity? Is he an FBI informant? I don't know. I don't know what's going on in El Paso, but I know that is going to hurt more people. And that no criminal syndicate group, whatever, should get away with orchestrating a mass shooting for a political agenda. For a political agenda, for financial gain, and also for ideological, to stir up hate in the people. Because when you're stirring up that kind of hate, that hinders production. People don't want to work together. People have a hard time working together. It messes with their mind. They get into this hypnosis. And there's a great book out that was very influential, and it was by Anthony Trollope, and it was called He Knew He Was Right. I believe that's the name. He Knew He Was Right. And I know the movie was called He Knew He Was Right. I think so. The Way We Live. No, wasn't that one. Anyway, but it is very influential because it's all about how you can put a narrative in somebody's head and they just grab hold of it and they think it's right when all along it was a lie. When all along it was a lie. And I'm telling you, this whole lone wolf shooting of the Patrick Crucius on August 3rd, 2019 is a lie. And all of this smearing of Richard by the law enforcement, you have to understand, these dirty agents allowed the smearing of Richard, and I believe even participated, I know they did, participated in the smear campaign of Richard. Because what better way to get the public to not care about the life of an individual than to turn into eyes so that they know they were right when all along they were wrong, that he was a whistleblower. And our open records show that he's a whistleblower since 2019. Now, is Richard's case worth sharing? Is this information worth sharing? Absolutely. The tide has changed, and things are looking so positive. Even in the frustration, they're looking positive because what is happening right now is people are realizing that our Department of Justice has been weaponized and that the FBI has been weaponized. And if we can share, and there's enough of us realizing the truth that the FBI has a real problem, that we can't let them weaponize themselves against the very people that they're supposed to be protecting, and that the Department of Justice has been weaponized, so much so that it is attacking a presidential candidate, a presidential candidate. It's wow. Unjustly, totally unjustly, that they're making a mockery out of our country. And any time a country is made a mockery, the value of its currency goes down, and we will have more inflation. Because it's not just the endless printing that evaluates a currency. It's also the trust in that country, the trust in the people and the land. And by making us a mockery, they are devaluating our purchasing power, our country, our, character as a country. And all of us that live here in the United States and in Mexico and in Canada, we're Americans. So whether we like each other or not, we're in the same boat. And we need a vibrant economy. So the weaponization and our military allowing all of this, the military allowing all of this, and they're looking really bad. Because they're supposed to be our defenders. They're supposed to be serving us and defending our country. Foreign and domestic enemies. Defending the Constitution, the land, and the people. So this is why, sharing these live streams are so important. Because right now, we need more than ever the politics, the publicity. So please share this with any of the media, any of your representatives. And I know what I'm saying is against the narrative. And so I hope that you will, do your own due diligence and look at the evidence and ask yourself, does this make sense? Knowing that Patrick Crucius has severe mental health condition, that we have confirmed that he's autistic, knowing that there wasn't a stain on him when he turned himself in at 11/11. At 11/11, after, an unreliable source, you can't even use what he said anymore. There's no evidence of it. And so wouldn't we want to know what really happened in the Walmart? How that many people really died? I'd like to know. I'd like true justice in this. Because when we solve that case, or and we solve Richard's case, the other will be solved also. And so those that know what happened to Richard, because absolutely there are tons of people out there that know what happened to Richard. Absolutely. There's not a doubt in my mind. But because this fear mongering, rightfully so, they're tearing out hearts and everything in Juarez. And let's talk about this soldier right now that, is on Fort Bliss and drives over to Juarez to his girlfriend and shoots her and stabs her to death, and then comes back over the border and goes back onto Fort Bliss. And that happens, months ago. And Major General Eisenhower doesn't dare tell anybody that he has this violent, murdering soldier that he is protecting in the name of we need to protect the military. No. He just murdered this woman in Mexico and made an international crime incident, an international incident. You think that Mexico City is going to take kindly to this? That an American soldier drives over to Juarez and shoots and stabs his girlfriend and then drives back over the border, the wide open border, and goes back onto Fort Bliss because he has access. And knowing that Fort Bliss is totally unsecured, that there are so many security gaps that they can't even find the missing soldier, Richard Halliday, the Vanessa Guillen first absent soldier. And then, no, I don't think that Mexico City will be too happy. No. And I don't think the people of Juarez will be too happy. And I know that there are crimes being committed in this country by people in Juarez or Chihuahua or Mexico, and we're not too happy. The problem. You see what happens when we don't have justice? It just develops into one bad situation after the other and hurts more and more people. And where did this soldier get the weapon? And was that weapon a registered weapon? Because, we know that Fort Bliss has a problem with having loads of unregistered weapons on Fort Bliss because they don't have a secured Fort Bliss. They don't know how to secure it. They have fentanyl. They have all kinds of drugs in the barracks. Because why? Because the criminal syndicate likes it that way. And the generals are allowing it. Who do they have the deals with? And then if you ask and if you say something that is so apparent, how dare you say something? How dare you say that we have an unsecured military base, that we have dirty generals and a dirty DA and a dirty CID and a totally compromised FBI supervisory agent? How dare you say it? Well, because my son is missing and murdered. Try living that. I think you start saying things. We should say things. Especially when you ask those simple questions at the beginning and you say, we want a win-win. and you're very humble, and you're like, okay, whatever with Richard, it doesn't matter to us. We just want to know where he's at. And they're smearing him, and we're like, we don't care. We just want to know where Richard is at. Just tell us where he's at. And they just start smearing us. And it's like, this is crazy. This is insane. And they acted so political because they lockstep like they were Nazi soldiers into that whole. And I'm like, this is not too good. This is not too good. Where is that American freedom? Where is the thoughtfulness, the scrutiny? They're using unreliable sources to take down, uh, you know, uh, good people. An investigation. They're using unreliable sources to sabotage an investigation into the Vanessa Guillen first absent soldier. What the heck is going on? So I think you start saying things. And then you put in your open records request. We didn't ever do that before. And it's like new to us. And we're like, oh, wow, Richard put in CPS complaints. We better find that out. That's, next of kin, public information. We want to open records on that. And they rather commit crime. They rather commit crime in the syndicate cabal atmosphere and environment than side with justice, than do what's right. And that was really crazy. So when that happens, I think you start saying things. And so here we are. So that's why it's so important for you to share. For you to share these videos, for you to share this information, for you to, just start talking about the Walmart case. Start talking about Richard's case to others, and see what they say, and share that information back with us if you have some good insights that come out, because lots of people know what happened to Richard. And they're all over the world right now. You know that. Because as soon as, we started coming to El Paso, they started shipping everybody out. They're all over the place. So it doesn't matter where you're at. Just start sharing. Thank you so much, everyone. And we will be back tomorrow. God bless you. If you have any questions, thank you, Mitzi. Thank you, Anicia, for coming on. Thank you for your prayer and your love. All right, until tomorrow.